Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good day wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next episode of No Dice, No Glory. Sponsored by our jobs that actually pay us money, we're coming to you not at all live from an abandoned arms factory deep under a mountain in West Virginia. We are proud to proffer to you the finest in wargaming coverage. Without any further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 19 of Tales of the Sale. Thank you for the lead-in. Sean, I think Sean is still getting to do the lead-ins. I don't think Mitch was mentioning that to me the other day, and I had totally forgotten that Sean was gracious enough to allow us to use his increasingly famous likeness to do this.
And you know what? He doesn't sound a day older.
No, he doesn't. It's miraculous. I guess all that training in sports broadcasting has helped keep him ageless. So we are joined tonight as we record this. It is August 3rd. So we're hoping this gets released next week, but we will see. I'm joined by gentleman farmer Glenn Van Meter. Say hi, Glenn.
Hey, everyone. Glad to see I was upgraded to gentleman.
And late night insane microwave yeller Tyler Stone.
Hi, everybody.
So before we started recording, Tyler was talking to his microwave and having a long-running conversation with his other flatmate. And yeah, I don't know what you were talking about, but it was real weird. You seem to be having a good time though.
To make it even more confusing, there was not a microwave involved in that at all.
I
heard a Keurig.
I heard like a door closing, and then I heard beeping, and it seemed reasonable.
Yeah, I thought you were talking like into a fan.
Yeah, it was just pretty weird. All right, but back on the topic of the game we're podcasting about. Let's talk about what we've been up to. So Glenn, let's start with you. Tell us of your adventures, because I think you've had kind of a spate of bad luck very recently, but other than that, you've gotten some painting done.
Yeah, I mean, as usual, farm things, and in typical farm fashion, this past Sunday, so like 2 days ago, I managed to both break the middle toe of my foot and get electrocuted standing in the rain by an electric fence. So it was a day and a half, maybe.
The image of you I had in my head was that picture from the front of like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where Clark Griswold is like spread out, electrocuting himself, putting the Christmas lights together. That's what it looked like, right?
It was kind of like that because I was trying to connect two pieces of fence and I didn't realize one of them was on.
Real deep cut would be the live action.
Yeah, I got a jolt across the chest.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a deep cut. So other than getting electrocuted and breaking your toe, what have you been up to hobby wise?
Hobby wise, I got this. Well, I got a bunch of painting done. Even painting not for Blood and Plunder, which is the amazing part. We did our event at Critical Hits last month. It was about a week and a half ago, I guess. Yeah, like I said, it's been busy and I'm losing track of things. But in addition to that, big news yesterday was that we wrapped up a BattleTech campaign that has been going since 2017.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we did 3 solid years of like playing every other week. Just so that we did every other week so that we could fit things people wanted to play in between games on the off weeks. Then COVID shut us down for a year, and we tried to get stuff back in the routine, but it wasn't clicking because just too much time had passed, and we were a little confused as to where we left things off. And so we had a giant showdown where our mercenary company was able to beat the bad guys one last time. We thought we'd go down a hill of glory, but all of the main characters survived, so I guess we're good.
Nice.
We're going to retire into peace, because that happens.
It happens for pirates all the time, right? I feel like that's the lesson I learned from Benderson Little's book, that piracy pays. They were all deep down gentlemen. and a lot of treasure is buried all over the world. So we should go digging to look for it.
See, and being a gentleman and a farmer, now you know if I was previously a pirate.
That's a fair point. I feel like
True.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, if you get bored of farming, you go back to piracy. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Pretty sure that was it's Mike's favorite pirate.
Oh,
I can't remember his name. I feel
is
so
this
bad now.
Lorenz de Graaf? Isn't he?
Wait,
No,
right?
that's your favorite pirate.
That's my favorite pirate. Well, no, but wasn't he like owned a plantation, and then he got
Yes.
bored of like farming, and he's like, actually, I'm gonna go murder people for money. And then he's like, no, that's like, this is exhausting being a gunner on this ship. I'd rather just rob people. And then he did that. And he like,
Steve Bonnet.
oh, that's right. The guy who hated his wife so much, he decided to go be a pirate.
Yes, Glenn, don't be like that.
Don't be like that.
See,
no.
I thought you were taken by Captain Flint.
Oh, he retired to farming.
That's what I was talking about.
Apparently.
I feel like most of them do not make it that long, though. I feel like they, live by the sword, die by the sword kind of thing. Tyler, you'd know more about it than I would. It's like a gap in historical
Offhand,
knowledge.
I can only think of like two that survived.
Well, maybe all of us that take up a life of piracy will beat the odds. You never know.
Yeah.
And Tyler, what have you been up to?
I have gotten the last of my rigging bits. I got an order of sailcloth in from a ship modeling site. I've linked that page or that I've linked their online shop a couple times in the Facebook page for Blood and Plunder. So I'm working on sorting out all of my rigging components that are from Firelock. So all of the nice laser etched stuff and the dowels that they sent me, because somehow they got all mingled in together in one giant box. I regret nothing. Once I have that sorted out, I'm going to start sanding those down and working on doing some way over the top rigging on my ships. And then I have the 2x2 demonstration board challenge-ish thing that Preston and I have going on. It's not an official challenge. We just both agreed to do one. And seeing the work that he's putting into his, it's pretty awesome. So it's going to be a hard act to follow.
How's that coming along? Do you have any pictures of it yet? Do you have like it sketched out, or like what stage are you at?
Yeah, I sketched it out. I've got the ground form mostly laid out. I'm at a point where his board is very flat. My board is very, very hilly, which was intentional to get elevation changes. And my plan was to have a lot of the houses on stilts or like split levels where the first floor is semi-exposed or embedded in the side of a hill, and then the upper floor is accessed from the back at a higher elevation. But I need to start carving out the footprints of these buildings so that I can kind of bury them in and then build up the sand around them and make them look like they belong there.
I do wish you guys lived closer, because I just lend you some of the foam cutting tools I have, because they would do that pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, I'd make do with like a bread knife.
Why would you use a bread knife when you can spend hundreds of dollars on foam cutting tools, Tyler?
Why do I also see Tyler taking a bread knife and just like leaving it on the stove until it turns red hot, and then a mitt and just cutting it that way?
That's only for
Yeah,
yourself.
it's like a mob doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
I will also apologize if you hear some like yipping in the background. My dog is having a very vivid dream, and she's chasing something. It's probably a rabbit. So if it sounds like I'm yelling in a high pitched whine, it's not. It's not me. It's just the dog.
I wasn't sure who to blame for that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I was a painting machine this past month. I painted all 31 models of the remainder of my Spanish force. I finished assembling one of the foreground buildings that I had. I just need to do the stucco on it, which I've never done before, so I was kind of hesitating to do it. I was actually going to finish it today before we recorded, but I wound up having to do a lot of cooking because the freezer in my basement exploded, and as a result, I had to cook some stuff that had thawed before it all went to crap. So I made pork and sausage cassoulet in a slow cooker. I did marinated grilled salmon with like lemon and thyme, and I also did some like cilantro lime butter corn because and then the grill crapped out midway through, so I had to use the oven for the rest of it since I did not have a backup propane tank. Because
I was gonna say, Tom, did all of your appliances just come with the 100-something-year-old house?
that used to be an excuse that I could use because at this point the house.
The freezer broke, and then the grill crapped out midway, and the oven broke down while I used that.
In the 5 years that we've lived here, this is what has gone wrong in this house. I realize this is off topic, but I just have to share my rage. It happens at least once a year. First of all, the windows were broken in the basement, so we had a raccoon get inside. We had that got fixed. We had the water heater blow up while we were on vacation and leave 2 inches of water. We had the entire main waste line crack and start leaking waste into the house. That required a full-scale excavation. We had to replace the entire furnace, which for safety's sake is wrapped in delicious asbestos. We had a basement leak. We had a leak from the bathroom because the people decided that particle board is a great subfloor to put tile on. And so we had water leaking from the bathroom into the kitchen. And so I got to replace the entire bathroom. We thought we were done, but we've also had the refrigerator break, the dishwasher break, the stove break, the freezer break, the dryer break, and the washer break. And so we've replaced those things. But it's starting to break again. I feel like, I don't know what the solution that is.
Wait, which one's breaking
do you
again?
buy all new stuff at once? We already had a broken freezer. Like, this is a new freezer. It's like 3 years old, so it's under warranty. But I don't know. I always think I run out of things to break and then I'm proven wrong. I realize it's a stupid thing to haughtily and arrogantly say like, oh, nothing else could possibly break. And then, that's usually the cue for something horrible to go wrong or some part of the house to catch fire. But maybe we're done for the year. He knocks on his wooden desk. So I got a lot painted. I'm looking forward to the rest of August because it's the last of my vacation before I go back to teaching, and my output of hobby stuff will dramatically decline. The last thing I did before recording was this past weekend. I posted up on No Dice No Glory a update on the campaign, but mostly it was a link to Blood and Pigment's newsletter, the most recent one, so people can get a feel for what's going on, which factions are in the lead, and how it all works. Glenn or Tyler, does one of you want to kind of walk through how the campaign works and how much time's left? I don't know who's the most well-versed.
Do you want to grab it?
Sure, I'll grab it. Okay, so the campaign works by you. We're talking about the global campaign, right?
Correct, window.
Yeah.
I said correct.
Sorry, someone's pinging me on Facebook, and it's just overriding everything else on my computer.
Consummate professionals.
Yes,
we are well prepared this evening, ladies and gentlemen.
We've got it together.
Live.
Yes. So the online campaign, the global community campaign that has been going on since June 10th and runs till September 10th. Ooh. So we're coming up on the last month of it, and the way you participate is you play a game of Blood and Plunder, and then you submit that via the email address to bandpcampaign@gmail.com. And that's not an ampersand, that's spelled out and, So it looks like Band P campaign. And when you send that in, you're going to send in your name, which faction you played as, and you need to send in a picture to prove that you played it, as well as whether or not you give consent for the picture to be used later in publishing, so that we can tell the story or that kind of thing.
And the winner of the campaign is basically the faction that submits the most games.
Correct.
And from that faction, a random submitter will be chosen, and that
Who
submitter
submitted
will
for
win
that faction?
themselves.
Yes.
Who submitted for that faction, and that person will win themselves a pretty sweet prize. They get I believe it's a sloop, right? That the guy painted up.
Yes, it is a sloop painted up by Guy Rourke with the crazy, ridiculous good sails that he uses.
So this is so cool. It's really cool looking. And I will also point out for people that might have been sitting on the sidelines or they're just hearing about this now that like a lot of people have submitted multiple reports, but there's like there are occasions where things will slow while people are on vacation and there aren't a ton of submissions. So this isn't the New York Lottery. This isn't Powerball. If you submit something, you've got a fair shake at grabbing some cool prizes. Because it's not just that one raffle prize. There's also a bunch of like secret objectives. If you check out the newsletter and you check out some of the calls to arms that people have made in terms of faction leaders, 3 of whom you're listening to right now, Glenn for the Dutch, me for the Spanish, and Tyler for the English.
French.
The French.
I was gonna say you messed that up in the article too. I forgot.
I did. I'm sorry. But a lot of people are offering like additional bonuses. So if you look carefully at whatever faction you're submitting battle reports for, depending on what pictures you include, you might find yourself in possession of some fun free stuff. So yeah, like a big shout out to Guy Roark and Joe Forrester and all the guys at Blood and Pigment that have been like they really have been very up on the email. They're checking in all the reports. They're responding to stuff. And Guy does a really good job with the newsletter. He kind of runs it by all of the faction commanders and lets us know what's going on. So, Tyler, do you have up the current list of the who's in the lead right now as of this recording? Do we know?
I do not.
While he's grabbing that, I will say there has been a bit of a what's the word? What's a good word? Me and the Brethren Commander have been kind of ribbing each other a bit via our letters in the campaign.
There is some trash talking going on. Yeah,
I mean, there's plenty of trash talking behind the scenes, but we've been doing very like officially kind of sounding trash talking, because one of his brethren pirates beat me in a game, and then I responded by calling, for pirate ships to be sunk and stuff. But if you can go find that letter that I put out, I flat out told I'm done with secret objectives. We got a month left, and I haven't given away enough prizes. Go find that letter. I tell you what to do in it. Send me pictures of you doing it.
I believe I also sent it in the article as well. So I in all caps, I might add. So I mean, you can state it for the record on here if you want, just to get it out there again.
Yeah, if you go play as the Dutch, and if I can get a picture of you having captured, sunk, or set ablaze an enemy ship, you will get reinforcements in the mail. And true to what's going on lately, the first one we've gotten was out of Canada. And once again, I'm doing international postage.
Oh, Canada.
The last 3 prizes I've sent out have been to Canada, Australia, and Canada again. So, come on, Europe. Where are you?
You're learning a lot about the wonders of international postage.
I really am. And more
At
specifically,
the
I'm just
possible time.
right. What I'm really doing is I don't send it internationally. I find a local shop, a local FLGS, and I contact them and have them post something from their store locally, because it is far cheaper for me to just pay the currency conversion and just spend $40 shipping a blister to Australia. So, again, as I've said before, if you're international and you win prizes, we will make sure they get to you.
And Tyler, I think I'm. Did you have it pulled up?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I have the
Which
scoring as of the 26th of last month. We have not gone through and aggregated them just yet. We're recording this on the 3rd. I believe Guy is intending to put
That's a
out
week.
the next newsletter on the 10th. So depending on when you're listening to this, there will be updated results from there. So anyway, in the lead right now, tied are the English and the Dutch Republic, immediately followed by 1 game behind the Brethren of the Coast. The next closest is my beloved French, who are about 5 games off the leader. And then, gonna be honest, it's kind of a walkover from there. I think the next closest is you, Tom.
is Spain. Spain is next closest. Spain is next closest. Thank you. Spain.
Yeah, and it's you're further behind than I can count in Spanish. So,
well then, as somebody in honors Spanish, I know, and somebody who worked in a kitchen as a line cook, I can tell you, I know the curse words and I know present tense grammar, and I like part of the secret objectives. I need more Spanish games submitted. So there were 4 secret objectives, and I thought I was being real clever when I like teased what they are. Right, fortune favors the Lanceros. Is also like all that glitters is not gold. So I just flat out explained explicitly, which I realize is not the way to phrase that, but I'm telling you precisely what to do when you submit a Spanish game to get 3 free objective markers in the mail. I mailed out my first set to Liam Smith, and so that went out this morning from here in Connecticut. He should get it within a day or two because it went out like free priority mail because I had like a coupon thing or whatever. So he should get it by the end of the week, I would say. So there are 3 objectives left. So if you're somebody who has Spanish stuff, particularly the Spanish stuff for Blood and Plunder, the 3 objectives that have not been claimed yet, and it's a first come, first serve situation. I'm going to look through the email for the campaign and see who submitted first. So if you're a Spanish player, first objective would be farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. And that can be obtained by being a Spanish player who submits a battle report with a female mini in it. This can be the villager models. It could be there's a female pirate fig that Firelock gave out. Or like, I'm not picky about this. I think I mentioned in the article, if you have a woman model from another game, if it's Dungeons and Dragons, if it's a Sister of Battle, that's fine. That is appropriate. So if I see it in the frame, something's coming your way. Okay. Option 2, a bark worse than its bite. If I see a Spanish player submit a picture of a sea battle where a bark is involved in a boarding action, then I'm mailing it to the Spanish player. Doesn't matter if it's your bark. If you're the Spanish player submitted and the bark is boarding somebody, you get yourself some objective markers. And then finally, I was trying to goose my Spanish numbers by seeing if I could get people to be fighting Spanish players against other Spanish players. But if you play against Spain or the Brethren of the Coast, I will send a model to you. If both people submitting the report are Spanish players, each of you gets 2 objective markers. If it's just one player playing Spanish against somebody playing Brethren of the Coast, the Spanish player gets themselves 3 objective markers. So submit some battle reports. We got a month to go, and I would love to put this stuff in the mail before things get really busy for me in September when school starts.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to one up you both.
Well, wait, hold on, because I forgot to mention.
To drum up support for the French, but go on.
I forgot to mention. I previously said if you sink, burn, or capture a vessel, you get reinforcements. You do get better reinforcements if it's a pirate vessel. and you can stick it to Guy Rourke, or not Guy Rourke, Dan Carlson.
Stan Carlson, yeah.
Dan Carlson. Yeah. Hear that, Dan? They're coming for you. Not that he plays 0-9, not BMP, but
It's the same. It's the same. You'll be able to see that ship ablaze from whatever scale it's in. It's not a problem. So Tyler, you have secret French plan?
I have objectives, and my objectives were incredibly secret because I was tasked with writing up the July update for the month one recap of this campaign, and I was going to share it from the No Dice No Glory blog to the appropriate Facebook pages. But in typical French fashion, I was tired and didn't share it. So,
great reference, by the way.
I would like to point out that if you are a French player, if you play Blood and Plunder, play one of the North American French factions. The French-Canadian militia, the Canadian privateers. Play one of those. If you are an Oak and Iron player, play, I'm just asking, a small battle. Like the, the 50-point squadron level? The lowest level game. Something, appropriate for the Great Lakes and messing with the English. So I don't care who you play against. Play French Canadians or play a small Oak and Iron game. And what I will do, so that it is not first come, first serve, because I want to drum up support for my French. If you submit one of these games, I will put your name into a hat, along with anyone else who meets the objective for this, shake it all up, and pick somebody at random. If I end up shipping to Canada in an act of cruel irony, I will do that. Like Glenn said, we'll make sure that you get your prizes. But don't think, oh no, it's too late. If I submit now, surely someone's beating me to it. No, 11th hour, we're like 5 games behind. Let's freaking do this. Start submitting games. Come on, for France.
But I'd say that the big takeaway, if you're listening to this podcast, and particularly if you're not somebody who's a quartermaster that probably has a lot of models already, if you're a new player, if you're somebody who just has like their starter box and they're just trying to get into the game, submit a report. Because if you're submitting a report for the Spanish, for the Dutch, or for the French, we have a lot of stuff to give away, and we very much want to give it away. So, send in the battle report so we have an opportunity to do that. We want to give you free stuff.
It's true. You might notice I also did not put out a first come, first serve stipulation on that.
Yep.
I'm doing it just because I want to see if I can trick more people into submitting reports. But it hasn't worked for me so far. Apparently, the beatings will continue until morale improves. Strategy is not as effective as I had hoped.
The way things are going, you're going to end up tied with Sweden again.
I can't. I love that the only battle report I've submitted is a Dutch report because I didn't have my Spanish painted at the time that I ran the game. So I basically helped you. Yeah,
I did you a solid. I put in a Spanish report.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so we helped each other.
I've done like 7 or 8 Dutch reports also, but I put in one Spanish report for you.
Yeah, my most recent games have been Dutch models in service of Spain because I was playing Ostend privateers.
Oh my. All right, so speaking of campaigns, that's the main topic that we're going to address today. Just like campaigns in general, because they come in a lot of flavors, shapes, and sizes. We're each going to kind of talk about what our experiences have been, not just with campaigns run through Oak and Iron, Blood and Plunder, but any kind of campaigns we've run, and general advice for players around the country and world that might be thinking of running one themselves. So I'll start off with Glenn and ask Glenn the question, like, what are some of the best campaigns you've been involved in, or the best campaigns that you've run? I'll start that question with you, and then we'll ask Tyler the same question. So, best campaign involved, best campaign you've run.
Man, honest to God, the best campaign I've ever done was the BattleTech campaign with my group that we just wrapped up, and we've already we all loved it so much we already have another one in the works. just because we just couldn't go any further with the other one. But yeah, the wonderful thing about the campaigns to me is like how much you can get drawn in as a player. Our BattleTech one had a bit of an RPG element to it, but it was also mostly just focused around battles. So all of the RPG stuff kind of took place via email, online, that kind of thing. But definitely getting the games in. And I'm actually starting to see this a little bit also with, I mentioned it last time, my group of friends in Southern PA, we're all running a small 4-person No Peace Beyond the Line campaign. And we're getting the same thing here where every commander's kind of developing their own personality, so to speak. We're all developing the characters. We're playing against each other. There's, trash talking. And it's a lot of fun just because there's a lot of personalization to everything that carries through both in the games and outside. And it creates a lot of memories rather than just showing up and be like, oh yeah, there's a game where we're playing 100 points and it's, I don't know, some French versus Dutch privateers. Like, there's a story to it, and you tend to remember those a bit more. Like, oh yeah, this character totally did this awesome thing, before they died in the next mission or whatever. So,
Tyler, what about you? Like favorite campaign you've been involved in, favorite one you've helped to run?
So before I jumped into Blood and Plunder, I came from the Games Workshop Warhammer background. So some of the campaigns that I've gotten to run, I ran 2 virtual campaigns on a forum where players kind of, in the first one, they submitted a character and it was like a character deathmatch. I think we had 64 people in that, which was insane. I think it's the largest one of those character arenas anyone's put on. And then I took that concept and ran a virtual map-based campaign where players were on 2 teams. They kind of told me where they wanted to attack and defend. I would handle a lot of the dice rolling for them, write up reports of what happened, and update the map. For in-person campaigns, right around the tail end of, I guess the tail end of 6th or 7th edition, right around when they were transitioning, my friends and I grabbed the Little Grismerie map, which is a Bretonian campaign that Games Workshop published in one of their magazines in White Dwarf. And we layered over that the warbands rules, which was like their micro hammer kind of thing where units were maybe 6 guys. And we played that over an entire summer between school. And I think we were at my friend's house. His grandparents had a pavilion. It was screened in, and it would just get swelteringly hot down there. And there would be about 6 of us, depending on the day, across multiple lunch tables, just crushing out games as fast as we could. There would be days that we would get there at noon, get home at like 8 a.m. the next day, and play 3 or 4 campaign turns in a sitting. And being much older now, obviously it's a little bit harder to coordinate something where, you play 20 hours of a game and then wake up the next day and do it again.
I think, like for me, the first campaign I ever played in was an Infantry Aces campaign for Flames of War. And it was built in such a way that because you were it was an escalation league, effectively. I would be feverishly painting, a new platoon or a squad of dudes so I could have it ready for the next phase of the campaign. I had a lot of fun doing the Battle of the Bulge one that Tom Burgess ran. This was years ago. I think it was still WWPD at the time, but we would submit stuff, and Tom had really gone out of his way to show blueprints of how the maps would look. And I had this great group of students that I was running gaming club with, and the students went out of their way to make a board that looked like this one particular crossroads. I had like 6 or so kids playing the game, and they had an absolute blast. I think like campaigns come in a lot of flavors. Um, there's campaigns that I've played like the Race to the Rhine that Mitch helped put together at one of the fall-ins where we had
That was fun.
that was fun with all the special rules and stuff like that. And then you have campaigns like Glenn's, like the BattleTech one, where it goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I think when we look
Years.
at years, when we look at campaigns, they can be a great tool for pulling in new players, but they're also just a great tool for using the game system you like to play to have fun in a structured way where your games matter. And I'll start by just kind of giving advice about like things to keep in mind or suggestions. And Glenn and Tyler, like, feel free to jump in after this, telling me if you think my suggestions are terrible or if you have other suggestions of your own. But something like the No Peace Behind the Line campaign, it's a good idea to have a big like opening game planned, or like have a big opening night planned, and then having a big closer planned, where no matter what happens in the middle, this is the start date, this is the end date, and I have something cool, planned for both. Maybe it's like they're 3 months apart. So if you're doing it for the summer, it starts in June and it ends in August, like the one that we're doing for the global campaign with Blood and Pigment. So I like having that. As for the middle ground of the campaign, I do like keeping it simple and keeping it broad so that any player of any ability level with any number of minis is able to participate. There's no barrier to entry. I think that's an important element of it too. Do you guys have stuff you want to throw in? I'll throw it to Tyler first. Any suggestions or ideas?
Yeah, I just kind of building on what you said about keeping the middle as loose as possible. We played map campaigns, and the Grismerie campaign that we ran over the summer is probably the only one of those that involved playing in person and getting games in against multiple opponents that actually finished. So I don't want to be a downer, but like, don't bite off more than you can chew when you're designing your campaign. The looser you can keep it, like the summer campaign, the global campaign that we're running right now, where you just report in games, or something where a club meets maybe once a month, once every other week, works out their campaign turn, and then it's up to players in the interim to complete their games and get their games in. You kind of have to tailor what you're doing to your to your players' needs. Glenn has a lot of experience with that because it's what you guys are doing right now, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, I've been in a ton of different campaigns, and there's a bunch of different ways to run things. So like I said, with the BattleTech one, it was just every other week, so that we had a week in between to play what other games you wanted to play. But everything would be organized offline. And then you just show up and play your game every other week. The one that I'm doing now, No Peace Be on the Line, we organize again online, and then players have, because it's individual matches and not a narrative thing, players then have 2-week period. That's discussed among the group. I mean, being 4 good friends and 3 of us have young kids, sometimes we're like, guys, this 2-week block isn't going to work. Like, let's extend it a week. Or, hey, there's a day off here, everybody can meet. Let's shorten it up by a week because we can squeeze an extra campaign turn in real fast. And that kind of thing. But essentially, you have your 2 weeks to meet up with your opponent. And that's how it actually suggests structuring it in the book. Now, obviously, if you're all meeting up together in person to do your campaign turn, that's probably a good time to also get in your hour-long campaign game. Because it's not like, these aren't huge games that take 3-4 hours to resolve. Most of the No Peace Be on the Line campaign games, let's face it, most Blood and Plunder games can be resolved in like under an hour and a half. So, yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it. We even did the Oak and Iron campaign last year during pandemic, where people didn't even have to meet; they would just play on the computer. So, I mean, there's ways to do it.
I would also point out, like, if you're somebody who's in an area that doesn't have a lot of people playing it, and you're kind of on your own with just a handful of friends, there's also the narrative campaign that they have, like the PDF. This is the Panama Raids, right, Tyler? Do you want to talk about that? There's like a yeah.
They put out. It was kind of unfortunate. Firelock wanted to do an organized play, kind of a global campaign in the vein of what's going on right now, and they picked, unfortunately, a terrible time to get it started because they rolled it out before, almost right before the pandemic. I think we got in maybe 1 or 2 conventions before everything shut down.
It was in October of 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 2019. Sorry.
Yeah.
October 2019 is when the first scenario released.
Yes.
And they kind of trickled them out, and then eventually they were like, okay, this isn't, it just wasn't practicable at the time, so they put everything out. So the good news is all of the scenarios are available for free in the download section of Blood and Plunder's website, firelockgames.com. And it covers the very much true story of the South Sea adventure. It's one of the it's the best recorded pirate expeditions in history. They had something like 5 writers them on these raids, and they just kind of tore stuff up on both coasts of South America. And it ended at one point with one of them going the entire, like, just making a circumnavigation of the globe because, as you do.
And Glenn, you ran this with Preston, right? You ran one of the games out of that packet, right?
Yeah, we've been trying to slowly run through them. I mean, we've done the first 2. We haven't set up the third because we're missing some components. That's the only downside to that is the game was aimed at, I don't want to say large clubs, but like medium-sized clubs with a good variety of BMP players. Because some of the collections that you need, if you're going to do the exact forces in the scenario, are a little nuts. So,
but I imagine it's easy to kind of modify it for.
Yes, you can just take like 200 points of whatever you have on hand.
Yeah,
they do give points values. They give points values, and they kind of spell out what cannot be modified. Like, obviously, if the scenario revolves around the pirates attacking a fort in order to rescue a native princess, you're going to need to beg, borrow, buy, or steal some kind of a fort structure to use, whether that's the Firelock Tower or you make something out of popsicle sticks. You're going to need the fort. But as far as forces, they give, if I'm remembering correctly, I think there's 3 options because they give you points values, and then they give you kind of like an abbreviated force list meant to represent what was on hand, because there are special characters that are included in this campaign, particularly for the privateers. And then they give you historical force lists, which are, if you are those larger clubs and you have 30 cavalry on hand, or 3 sloops or barks, or in my case, brigantines, that you can run some of these bigger games. I would say if you have Spanish, maybe natives, you might want natives, and if you have a privateer force, you could run these games solo. And if you don't read ahead, that could actually be a lot of fun. Like, if you are somewhere where there's a bit of a drought of players, you could read the historical overview of the first scenario, figure out what you're going to need, build up some terrain for it, which would broaden your terrain collection, and then use the solo rules that Firelock has available. Because the way the whole campaign works is each game builds on the previous game. So I mentioned earlier rescuing the native's daughter. If you successfully do that, then the pirates get native allies in the next game. If you fail to do that,
cool.
you're going to have a harder fight next game.
Like it's one of the things that I really liked in the back of a lot of the Battlefront books. They would, like, particularly the D-Day books, they would have these like linked scenario play things where it's like, oh, here's 3 missions, and who won the previous mission affects slightly the deployment or creates a special rule. It's not game breaking, but it gives it some flavor, and it means that the missions that you fought have a bearing on the ongoing campaign. It's fun to play with another person, or a small group, but yeah, Glenn's right to say you need a bigger collection if you want to run them exactly as they're described in the scenario pages, I suppose. But
Yeah, I was putting them together on my own, like buying specifically to run these things, and it's a lot.
Yeah. The third scenario, is that the one that needs like the no joke like 30 cavalry?
I think that's 5, but yeah.
Okay.
Third scenario is actually the one you're talking about, where the pirates are helping rescue the
Oh
daughter.
yeah.
But you need 3 guard towers, whatever those are.
yeah,
Right.
If only we had some bastions for a fort, that could probably work.
well. I'll get out my Praxon foam cutter. I'll start working on it. I'll close this out by saying, unless you guys have other stuff you want to say, that one of the other great things about this as a game is the community. Because if you are thinking of starting a campaign and you post something on our Facebook page, on Blood and Pigments, or on Buccaneering Across the Spanish Main, and you say, hey, I'm not sure what I want to do, what has been your experience with it? If you have specific questions, there is a pretty large treasure trove of people, players, hobbyists that are going to help you out. And I think that's a pretty cool aspect of this hobby in this particular game, because you will find people to help you.
And if you want to come out and be like, hey, I would like to run a campaign and I have no idea where to start, just contact us.
Yeah.
I can honestly tell you, one of the reasons I'm a quartermaster, and I'm a quartermaster for Blood and Plunder, but I've also been a demo agent for other games. I have as much fun and enjoyment out of helping other people play games and like running things as I do in actually playing in them. So when you're looking at them, and not everybody has that, but some people need to be there, being the ones throwing the dice down. That's fine. Takes all types. But if you're looking at how many players you need, like it can be as little as 2 just to put a narrative or a map-based campaign together, just so that there's a little more meaning behind you and your friends' battles. A narrative campaign where you have 1 GM and like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever number of players, that can work too. No PSP on the line works better with even numbers, but you can do odd numbers. There's a provision in there for that. So there's just 100,000 different ways to do a campaign in the end. And if you just need help getting that idea of where to start, if this is something that sounds like you want to do, again, just feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure you could also reach out to the Blood and Pigment guys if you really want to. They'd probably be able to help, although they're probably too busy
Running their current campaign.
Running their current campaign, writing rules, whatever. Doing the 3 games a week that they get in because they live next to each other, like right next door to each other.
Yeah, in between learning to play a million new songs on the guitar, because Joe can't stop learning. It's exhausting. Anyway, so I would say that for the sake of time, we should move into the bets and the challenges.
Yes.
So we had unfinished business, Glenn, and I'll let you take this one.
Oh, we did. So last time, 2 times ago, Tom challenged me to simply outpaint him. And we got to last time, and we couldn't decide whether I'd outpainted Tom because we threw it to Tyler, who didn't want to get stuck in the middle. So we said we'd create a community poll. And I did that today because I'd, of course, forgotten during the course of the month. And based on the answers we got, It was a unanimous nope. I did not outpaint Tom. Which means
That was
that
a
for the
rough comment section. I'm sorry.
It was
It's
brutal.
okay.
It was brutal.
For the month of June, now that we're in August, Tom and I both failed our bets. Tom spent the whole month doing terrain objectives instead of painting minis
Correct. Yeah.
or building
Which
a
is what
table
you
rather.
what you challenged me to do, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. And then I did nothing but that, and then just failed myself. So yeah.
And then me going, well, he's not even painting anything. What the heck is this?
Oh, but he was. But
I didn't.
but
Yeah, I
Tom
didn't
was
try all that
painting.
hard. So now Tom still has to do his song and dance,
Yeah, I do.
and I apparently have to paint a longboat for Tom. Which, if my Fireluck order arrives in a reasonable amount of time, I am coming up to visit Tom in later this month, so he might have that longboat in hand before we record again.
Ooh, it's exciting.
Hang on, you owe him the painted longboat because of the
Because I didn't bother
Community
painting a
poll.
frigate. Yes,
yes.
Correct.
You had a painted frigate. You just didn't rig it.
it's not done. I
Yeah,
would say
this
that's
last time you guys both right? Don't you both owe each other
I think
What?
so. Yeah.
last month's challenge?
which last month.
Did you get your 16 Dutch painted?
Duh.
Okay, right.
We were getting
you
into
did.
that.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
But I would say my frigate's 80% done. You might even be able to call it, since it doesn't have any of the rigging and mast, you might even be able to call it an 80% lower.
Boo.
We would like to welcome the FBI to the chat.
Hey, at
So
least
this-
it's not 3D printed, right?
So, Lord, no. All right. So this past July, Glenn, go ahead, walk us through what your challenge was for this past month.
All right, so last time I decided I needed 16 Dutch minis painted. I forget what Tom challenged me with, but it wasn't happening. I got my 16 Dutch minis painted. I waited till the last minute, mostly thanks to my family constantly interrupting me.
I am impressed you finished that because knowing how close you cut that to the wire, I did not think that was going to get done.
It was 2 days from the end of the month, and I had primed minis.
I
they
could
look
just
good.
see, I could see like paint shaped tears falling from your eyes as your son just clawed at you, screaming. Yeah, I didn't think it was happening. I have to tell you, I have to lift my hat and tip it to you.
So
They are really good.
They are good. They turned out really nice.
Yeah.
see, I see a ton of problems with them just because I know I rushed the job and I didn't do all the corrections I would normally do. But yeah, I mean they look decent. I've gotten plenty of compliments on them, so I'll take it.
So mission accomplished for July and this month.
Tom, what's your? We'll go a little out of order here. Tom, what was your last month?
My last month, my challenge was to finish painting every Spanish thing I had, which was 16 Milicianos, a Lancero that somehow fell behind my painting table, 10 Marineros, 4 Milicianos Indios, for a total of 31 models. And I completed all of them, which brings my total for the year up to about 75, I believe.
Nice.
Well done.
Which is pretty staggering. I've never painted a game this quickly and this much.
I just counted it up myself, and I believe I have painted, and this doesn't even include the mostly finished Canadians that I just haven't put the final touches on, like 136 minis this year.
Holy cow. That's
and I still have like
lot of
100 to
minis.
go until I reach my resolution.
Yeah, but hey, you're making progress. You're in the right way.
Yeah, I've never painted this many minis ever. Like in the decade that I played Warhammer, I don't think I ever painted 136 minis. But I think that might also be true of many Warhammer players, so
That's fair.
And it's the vast majority.
So Glenn, this time, we have a joint challenge, right?
We do. The Spanish box was so successful for me that I thought I'd go for a repeat. And I asked Tom if he wanted to do this, and he agreed. Since it's the summer, I think he can do it.
I can do it.
The challenge is to paint the oak and iron core box. So 6 1/600 scale ships. I feel like this is like a Friday evening, but I'm not sure.
We could get it done because thanks to the miracle of contrast paints, I think I can pull this off. But
I've heard they're easy.
I've heard that, but we might have been lied to. We're going to find out. We'll find out on our next paint night.
Well, to be fair, anything Rufus does looks easy. So
yeah, that's true. Rufus does look easy. Yeah, big time. All right, so we will both paint an oak and iron core box. So, the penalty I've dreamed up for you is.
Oh, I was gonna say we should just agree on like, since we're having the same challenge, I think we should have the same penalty.
I'm fine with this being the same penalty. I'm good with that. All right, so the penalty is if one of us doesn't get it painted, then their opponent has to paint a Commander Mini from the Raise the Black Kickstarter when it comes out. Because I saw some of those, like, did you see the post that they put up with some of the new models and what they look like?
Oh yeah,
they're
so good.
So like, if I don't get it done, then I will have to paint you one of those Commander models and send it to you, and vice versa for you. I feel like it's pretty doable and fair.
That's legit.
Okay.
Because I was,
All right.
Yeah, I'll probably end up with a second box of those things anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, so we're good with that.
Give them away, hand them out. Who cares?
Yeah. All right.
Here's a famous pirate. Thanks for trying the demo.
I bought way more than I needed to, so I'm sure I'm going to be giving stuff away.
Again, the glories of, not being an addict.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, trivia time. This is a big one too. So like, this is a big prize. This is the Oak and Iron starter box that we're giving away, and I was a little surprised. I don't think you gave them their reminder, and a lot like my students. See, a lot like my students who were like, "What do you mean the essay's due tomorrow?" Oh, sorry, your taco fell in the fryer. I think a lot of people, just didn't realize. I feel a little bit bad about that, but not too bad because we did get 5 correct answers to this, which we'll get into in a second.
Sure.
So, the question from last month, which is one I dreamed up that Glenn believes was too hard. I think Glenn needs to raise his standards.
I think you were going a little soft on them.
I think. All right. Anyway,
it's not that I don't think these guys can answer the questions. The point is, I want more people to answer the question because I want to give away more stuff.
I understand. All right. So, John Plantain, born near Port Royal, Jamaica, was a pirate who built himself an empire, eventually using his wealth to buy weapons, build fortifications, and took over a small kingdom in Ranter Bay in Madagascar, making war on his neighbors, stealing cattle, and enslaving locals. John made himself many enemies. John also amassed many wives and servants, but was, like any pirate, not satisfied with what he had. John Plantain learned of a beautiful daughter of a local king. When he demanded her as his bride, the king refused, and John declared war. The question is, what is the name of this king who would defy John Plantain, the pirate king, at least what the English called him? And I gave you the hint to look up The Golden Age of Piracy by Benderson Little, the chapter Pirate Heaven. Some of you went to, I believe, like a libertarian site that had this guy discussed because you gave them that hint as well, Glenn.
No, that was Tyler who found it.
That was Tyler, that's right. So the correct answer, the name of this king that defied John Plantain, was known by the English as Long Dick. Otherwise known as we also accepted King Dick. And so I know that I'm childish, but I'm not above a joke like that every once in a while. I feel like Mitch was proud while he was helping to edit the episode, knowing what the answer was. Because I'm sure Mitch knew that, even though he didn't submit an answer. He didn't have to look it up at all.
I'm legitimately surprised that he didn't just spontaneously pop into the recording channel here.
Yeah, I felt like we were summoning him like Beetlejuice.
Yes.
So we have 5 correct answers, and I am going to roll a die and find out who it is. So we may be shipping to Canada. We may be handing stuff to people in person, and we're going to find out here. So here we go.
That would be convenient.
And the answer is Brian Reed. Brian Reed's going to get himself
there you go.
an Iron starter box. So
he has submitted a correct answer every time since we have started this.
he is like, he's like 5 for 5, 6 for 6, however many times.
Although this is kind of cheating because he was a Canadian, right? Like
he was a Canadian, but we don't need to ship it to Canada.
I don't have to ship it to Canada. It's still Canadian.
I think he was kicked out of Canada for unspecified reasons. At least that's the story that I'm going to circulate around until people say it's true. So
Probably
Brian Reed
couldn't sing.
Congratulations.
He didn't say thank you when someone held the door for him.
Yeah. So he was exiled. He was exiled forever.
Yep.
Oh, Brian. All right. So we will make sure you get your box. We'll reach out to you probably before this airs and pop it in the mail ASAP. So this time we have this is Tyler Stone special? Is that what this is?
Yeah, this one's my question.
Okay, so you go ahead and take the lead on this then. Explain the rules, read it through, and away we go.
All right. So the rules. You need to email the correct answer to talesofthesale@gmail.com. That's tales like stories, TALES, and sail like on a boat, not at Walgreens. Email that before the end of August when we record to be eligible for a prize. We'll do the same thing, roll a dice, ship it to you. The prize.
I'll try to remember the reminder.
I'll post a reminder. I'll put a
reminder up.
Yeah.
Prize this time: 2 blisters of European sailors and a blister of weapon upgrades. So stock up on pirates.
That would be the sailors with the pistol and hand weapon, not the musketeers.
Yes. So the question this time is: in March of 1693, Laura de Graaf married the beautiful Anne du Lavaux, known in English as Anne that God wants. But perhaps we shouldn't envy de Graaf's luck with women just yet. Not only was Anne fully prepared to shoot de Graaf for insulting her the first time they met, but she was also not his first wife. In fact, one of the earliest records of de Graaf's activities in the Caribbean was his 1674 marriage to a Spanish woman from the Canary Islands. What was this woman's name?
Oh, de Graaf, you rogue. He's such a rake. I'm sure Brian Reed's going to get this answer in ASAP, but yeah.
Yeah, this is in honor of the new Bucanera fire starter that should be wrapping up and on its way to us, possibly by the time you guys hear this, going from what Mike said.
It is fully funded, and it's a permanent product line, right? They managed to make the goal.
Yeah.
Ladies in dresses with muskets.
I'm psyched for this. I think I bought 2 of them so I can make a unit of them. But yeah, they're
a couple on the way.
They're cool looking sculpts.
Yep.
All right, upcoming events.
We have a lot now. Things are open again.
We're getting open. All right,
for
now. For now. All right, so I'll start by saying, for those of you in the northern New Jersey area, the Hudson Valley, Western Connecticut, New York City, I will be holding a demo for Blood and Plunder on Thursday, August 26th from 2 p.m. until they close at Mythicos Games in Mahwah, New Jersey. So other than one store in Brooklyn, I believe, this would mark the second store in the Hudson Valley to be selling Blood and Plunder stuff. So if you are at all interested in like trying out the game for the first time, if you've just been kind of collecting, during COVID and waiting for game stores to open up, this is your opportunity. I'm happy to walk you through it. I'll have a sea battle set up, and I'll also have a land battle set up at like a low points level, so it's easy to play through a bunch of games. I'll try to set you up with another player if we got them. They will have product in the store to sell, I believe, and so I'll keep you posted. I'll also post stuff on our Facebook page, and I will post reminders on No Dice, No Glory the week before, just to get people psyched about it. So I hope to see you there, August 26th, 2 p.m., Mythicos Games, Mahwah, New Jersey.
All right. So the next one I think we have is Josh Shivek, who's he streams a lot of Oak and Iron games. If you're on the Discord, you'll see him a lot there. If you're in the Oak and Iron group, I believe he posts quite a bit there as well. He is heading up Firelock for the Michigan GT. He's going to be there for demos and event games and so on. The Michigan GT is going to run from October 8th through the 10th. I believe it is in Lansing, Michigan. Yep. I just lost my notes. What did I do? Sorry. So yeah, October 8th through 10th, Lansing, Michigan. Hang out with Josh Shibik. Friday, he's going to run sea battles and demos. Saturday, he's dedicating pretty much entirely to Oak and Iron games. Sunday, he's going to run Blood and Plunder land battles and, mostly focus on Blood and Plunder. So any of those 3 days, 3-day long event, however you want to do it, he has been dying for people to sign up to his events. He has plenty of space for you guys. And do you want to cover the next one?
Happens,
Yeah.
Yes, Historicon. Usually it's in the summer, but they kind of pushed it back to take the place of Fall In. I believe it's November 10th through 14th.
That is correct.
Yes.
Since nobody wrote that down. Yep, 10th to 14th. We're hosting a solid amount of Firelock gaming. We're doing what we're calling the Iron Man event. Essentially, if you can participate in the Blood and Plunder tournament, the Blood and Valor tournament, and the Oak and Iron tournament, you'll get a special Firelock prize. And if you walk away with the top prize or the top score aggregate between all three, you'll get another special prize. So it sounds like anybody who can do all three is getting something, and then the top person's getting something even better. From what I was told.
And the Firelock guys are no slouches in terms of prize support. They come.
I came and never had played before, and I got $100 book out of it. So yeah, they're no slouches. Anyways, so if you're going to that, Thursday the 11th is scenarios and practice down in the tournament section, I think. Then Friday morning into early afternoon is Blood and Plunder. Friday evening is Blood and Valor. So there's a dinner break in between, like an early dinner break, I think. And then Saturday afternoon, I want to say, is Oak and Iron. And we're giving plenty of time for those games because we know they tend to go a little slower.
I will also point out, for those of you that are diligently keeping track of this, I feel like Brian Reed probably has a bingo card somewhere. Friday will be the day that I have to wear my Conquistador outfit.
Oh yeah, it is.
To honor the bet with Glenn. So I have a wig and a beard, and I'm working on getting a pirate style shirt, and I'm probably gonna make my own spray painted armor. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there, piece by piece.
It'd be odd seeing you with a beard.
Yeah, it will. I always look homeless. So I got the glue on beard or whatever, the Halloween style beard.
Now, are you doing the Morian helmet or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
And gotta go with the classic.
Yeah, in addition to the prize of seeing Tom dressed very funny, I would like to clarify, if you can't make all three tournaments, you really should. But if you can't make all three, still compete in whichever ones you can do. Firelock has made it clear they're providing prize support, just like always, to each individual tournament, with an additional prize at the very end for anyone who makes it through the Iron Man.
We will also have, for Blood and Plunder in particular, we have spare armies, all of us, and we lend those out. So does Mitch.
Yeah, we will hook you up.
We will hook you up.
So if you show up and you're like, man, I play Blood and Plunder and Oak and Iron, but I don't play Blood and Valor, talk to us ahead of time to make sure that your space is reserved. But we will totally hook you up with a loner Blood and Valor army or an Oak and Iron army or whatever it is you don't have, so that you can try to compete in the Iron Man.
I think Mitch Reed has 4 Blood and Valor armies. I want to say he's a great.
I think
war
he's
fanatic. He has everything. He has.
I thought he was just working on a 1-1 reenactment.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point, honestly. But
he's just collecting the entire West Front.
The entire West Front. He's digging a trench in his backyard.
He buys French by the division,
All right.
Windfall now that. Anyways. Also, BarageCon, 24th and 25th September, Havre de Grace, Maryland. I'm planning to go to that. I think Preston is planning to go to that in lieu of our normal Critical Hit day gaming day at Critical Hit, because it's usually that weekend.
I will also be there in some capacity.
I don't know what's going on because I was going to use a scenario game for a convention, but I think we might be doing a different scenario. We'll certainly have demos. We haven't put a tournament in yet, just because it's still very new to the area. So, but if you are in the area and you want to play games, I've been to BarageCon several times. It's a wonderful little convention. It's got all sorts of zany stuff in it too. It's not like 40K dominated or Flames dominated. I mean, there's smaller tournaments going on there, but there's also a lot of like D&D boards or stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a fairly large local club, but it is a local club that runs that, isn't it? It's the Hawks guys.
Yeah, it's Hawks. So if you've ever been to one of the HMGS events, they usually have like
they're great.
Their own dedicated room.
Yeah.
They do the Look Sarge No Charts series of games.
And then who wants to cover the Rochester one?
That's where Tom lives.
It's New York, so I don't know a lot about this because you guys are adding it on, but it's
friend of the show, Sean Martin, told me about this.
Oh, it's Sean Martin. Okay, cool. Yeah. So Du Bois runs from 12th to the 14th of November. So this is at the same time that Historicon would, in theory, be running. But who knows? The world is full of uncertainty. And if you're somebody who's in the Rochester, New York area, but doesn't want to make the long haul trip down to, the world's creepiest casino, then check out Blood and Plunder demos. There's treasure scramble scenarios, and then there's a 2-day land and sea tournament, which sounds pretty cool. Like if I were anywhere near Rochester, I would love to go. If I weren't already committed to Historicon, I would probably easily do that drive. It's not that bad for me. So yeah, if you're in the Rochester area, Buffalo area, go check it out.
And then the only final update, I didn't get a chance to put it into our show notes. Those of us who are in that sort of southern Pennsylvania, Maryland border kind of thing, if you are in that area, we are starting to meet up at Comic Store West. It's probably too late by the time you guys are listening to this because we're heading there on, I don't know, this Friday. It's August 3rd currently, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It'll be the 6th.
By then.
Yeah, it won't be out by the time. But we're looking to make that a bi-weekly event. It's got something to do with the way that Comic Store West handles table reservations. It seems like bi-weekly is what we're going to have to commit to. It doesn't mean that you have to, but it's a good opportunity to get down there. Again, Preston, who's been running a ton of events in this area, myself, some of the people that you've probably met from Critical Hit will all be doing open gaming there. We're looking at possibly starting up the No Peace campaign. So if you're in that region and you either can't make it down to Critical Hit or you just want to get some more games in, check out Comic Store West. It's down in York, Pennsylvania. And we'll be setting up games there very shortly. We'll make sure to keep updates whenever we have plans to all be present.
And if you don't know, just reach out to us again.
I would also say that
you're always welcome to contact us on Facebook or by email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talesofthesale@gmail.com. I think what I will do, I'll set an alarm for myself to just send out a reminder for people if they want us to make announcements on the podcast about any events that they're running anywhere in the country. We are happy to do that for you. So I'll send out a reminder on our Facebook page and on Buccaneering Across the Spanish Main and saying, hey, if you want us to give you a shout out on the podcast, drop us a line in this email or comment here before we record. And we will put in the show notes. We will make sure you get a little bit of PR. Happy to do it.
Not just for the U.S., just the prizes we've had to send. Apparently, we managed an international audience. So if you're playing something in the UK or Canada or Australia, and you want us to give you guys a shout out, we will absolutely be happy to do that. We want to get more people out there and playing this game, especially as things reopen and kind of hopefully get back to normal here in the upcoming months.
I think that ties it up for the evening.
Yeah.
Glenn, since you're the one who's the master of all bedtimes, why don't you shut us down?
Well, everyone, thanks for coming and listening to us. We honestly couldn't do it without you. And again, just thank you for listening to us blather on for an hour and a half. So we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at No Dice, No Glory, and keep the conversation going on NoDiceNoGlory.com, now featuring our own message boards. Have a great night, everybody.